Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Ashleigh with Snow Leopard Conservancy. Thank you to the panelists. I've really enjoyed your talk so far, particularly the ones about the cats, the mountains. Snow Leopard Conservancy helps mountain communities and snow leopards and other predators coexist peacefully by merging both Western and Indigenous sciences. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our programs and Land of the Snow Leopard initiative. Just a brief background on snow leopards. Snow leopards are the apex predator in the high mountain ecosystem of Asia. They live in 12 countries throughout Central, South, and East Asia. They know no country lines. They're a transboundary species, very diverse in cultures, religions, peoples with very different backgrounds. And snow leopards face many different threats, including human-wildlife conflict, which is what our focus is on, and helping communities coexist. So agropastoralist communities have lived that for thousands of years in these regions. The herd sizes have changed over time. Yak live at high altitudes. They're very high valued. Sheep, goats also live in this region. And traditional enclosures are typically stone-walled. There's not a lot of resources in this area, and so often, as you saw this picture already, snow leopards can get into traditional corrals, and fortunately, snow leopards, there have been no cases of snow leopards attacking people, but this does come at a big economic and emotional loss to the herding communities that share their habitat. And this can often result in heightened conflict when not addressed with solutions, and it can lead to retaliatory conflict. So we work with local communities on co-developing solutions for coexistence. So we work with local leaders, community mobilizers, municipalities on understanding what the situation is, coming in with an open mind, open heart, listening with empathy to understand what the root causes of the issue are. And so after understanding, we have appreciative, participatory planning and action meetings with the communities, so getting everybody's perspective, both women and men in the community, and really co-developing solutions from the start. This is not us coming in and telling them what they need. It's very much co-developing solutions and us as a facilitator. This is shearing llama in Dolpo, which has a very high human snow leopard conflict at the moment. Shearing is a former junior ranger with Snow Leopard Conservancy and has really dedicated her adult life to protecting the species. Shearing and Dr. Jackson here are inspecting a traditional corral that has been enclosed with mesh for predator proofing, and so they're looking for apertures and ways that a snow leopard or wolf could potentially get in and kill livestock and potentially cause conflict. So we work with communities on solutions such as the predator-proof corrals, but these are very expensive and very difficult to replicate and scale up across this whole entire snow leopard's range. So we also try fox lights so that the communities are trained on their use. They only need to be used, they can be moved, they can be they actually only need to be used like during high-risk times, so the cats there is risk of the cats being habituated to them. But they have been effective, and we are trialing this in different countries to test the effectiveness, and they're a very cost-effective solution.
orang buturu dojung te butu ja te ki phimi lepte te na dasar na la pasoju di lab da thong ja ha ko ja te sem ko tu ka na ko para de kipo meta ko para de di ko to ne te nga rita di gela lai juwe
de sem ta na de yu zai da bi yu
sa
yu zai de dai 어디라 되네 유자장 되네 유자고 년에 되네 대심점이 나가래 되네 돈들에 좀내야 돼 어디 온다 왜
오.
그게 난가 마이나 대심자 당하다 대 유자 좀 저당 되네 어디 다들 망고 샤등 어디 온다 왜
So Shearing is also working with the local monks in this area to, on the understanding of the revival of traditional ecological knowledge and really reviving the spiritual and cultural significance of snow leopards, as well as spreading information about its ecological function. So it's my pleasure to introduce the Land of the Snow Leopard initiative with you all, and I was actually not supposed to give this talk today. One of our partners, who is from the Baikal Buryat Center for Indigenous Communities, is the Land of the Snow Leopard director, co-director, and unfortunately she was not able to get her visa to come. So it's my honor and privilege to be here and talk to you about this today. And this is an initiative that involves the Indigenous cultural practitioners to revive Indigenous traditional knowledge, as well as snow leopards as a sacred species. And so we work in 5 different countries: Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and then 5 different regions, and then the Altai and Buryat republics of Russia. And so this is Buyan Badrak. He is a shaman in the Altai Mountains in Mongolia. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. This is Jakapul Rimbakov. He's a Bachi, or giver of blessings, in the Talas region of Kyrgyzstan. This is Slava. He is in the Altai Republic of Russia. And Norbu Lama, who's a Buddhist Lama, who is based in the the Buryat Republic of Russia. And so by working with these indigenous cultural practitioners to revive traditional ecological knowledge, it is actually working to, let me just explain for a second that these areas were heavily affected and these cultures were suppressed during the Soviet era for many decades. And so by reviving this traditional knowledge, with that is coming back a reverence for all nature, including snow leopards as a sacred species. And I'll let Norbu Lama explain.
В этом проекте по спасению снежного барса и горных экосистем привлекает нас как культурных практиков. Это, по сути, инновационный подход именно в решении именно защиты природы и вообще всего феномена жизни. То есть традиционные знания, они необходимы для человечества. Потому что все-таки вот эта наша человеческая цивилизация, она многие вещи забывает. А коренные народы, они сохранили эти знания.
We also work with a shaman in the Altai Republic who is the hereditary guardian of the snow leopard mountain. It's actually called Irbis-2.
Снежный барс там находится зимой и летом, и кругом он сейчас больше стал еще, размножается еще. Снежный барс до сих пор есть. С этого снежного барса от природы мои предки жили связаны были животными эти снежного барса. Они не допускали чужих людей туда, они не убивали козероги, где он питается, ходит. Эти мои родовые горы Ирбисту, мы до сих пор этих поклоняемся, низкий поклон.
So this network consists of the indigenous cultural practitioners and elders, historians, educators, conservationists. It's really and also the country coordinators that work directly with the practitioners. So this network has now grown to over 100 members that are on the ground, community members working for snow leopard conservation. So the network goals, establishing a precedent for ICPs to be equal partners in global planning for snow leopard conservation, merging Western Indigenous approaches. So this is, sorry about that. So so working together, we host an annual gathering, which unfortunately hasn't been possible in person since 2019. But by hosting an annual gathering in country, we're able to bring everybody together and share ideas. And so it includes all aspects of conservation, really approaching it in a holistic way. Revitalizing ancient ceremonies about the reverence of all life and snow leopards as a unifier of humanity. So, in these communities, snow leopards are considered elders and keeper of knowledge, and it is it's important to have these ceremonies in these areas to be able to talk and share ideas and stories. Establishing sacred sites for biodiversity protection, and also empowering cultural practitioners to lead their own programs. So we are the facilitator of these programs. And this is a QR code here on the Land of the Snow Leopard story map. If you're interested, I'll be on the last slide too. So how this is working, Norbu Lama has he's been able to set a protected area for the Soyot community in the Buryat Republic of Russia, and also working with students in classrooms on web of life, the interconnection and interdependence of all life, as well as working on global planning. Buyan Badrak has been able to set up a protected area, the Sutai Mountain in Mongolia. Jakarpul has been able to, shown here with ancient petroglyphs showing the relationship between people and animals and snow leopards and prey. And this is a video of Jakarpul with his kids. This is also subtitled as well, but this is in the Kyrgyz mountains. So his grandkids.
Ойланайындар, тоо бийик тоолор. Ошо бийик тоол аймагында биз жашап келебиз. Бизден мурун да биздин бабаларыбыз жашап келген. Бул жерде бабаларыбыз жашап келген жерде ак илбис уялаган, кайберендер болгон, ыйык жаныбар болгон.
Ал кандай ыйык жаныбар?
Ал ыйык жаныбарлар кайберен, ак илбис, аю, билесин. Анын ичинде ыйык бугаларыбыз, бугуларыбыз бар. Ал ыйык бугу бир убакта ушундай адамзаттын улугу азайып баратканда ошо адамзатты сактап калган. Айланайын балдарын, биздин тоос табиятыбыз бар, улуу тоолорубуз бар. Улуу тоолордун ичинде ыйык жаныбарыбыз бар, булактарыбыз бар. Биздин ата-бабалардын ыйык болгон бир уламыштарын айтып берейин.
Jakarpul is telling these stories and sharing this in the communities. He travels all over. In Tajikistan, snow leopard day festivals that started in Mongolia are now expanding to Tajikistan and the Altai republics of Russia, and celebrating, having fun, promoting advocacy. And this is, such an important part of conservation is really inspiration, because inspiration drives motivation. And in these areas, art contests, plays, all sorts of activities to really celebrate snow leopards. And so you can see here showing the cultural significance and also empathy. So these programs also include conservation education. This started in Mongolia. This award-winning program is 25 lessons that goes to rural communities in Mongolia by our partner Tunga. And so because of the network, they decided they wanted to expand this into all 5 regions of Land of the Snow Leopard. And so they did at one of the gatherings, all of the coordinators learned all the lessons. And since Tunga has expanded this to Ulaanbaatar and urban schools to reach, because half the population in Mongolia lives in Ulaanbaatar. And so teaching students in eco clubs, and with the support of IUCN SOS on sustaining snow leopard conservation through revitalizing traditional ecological knowledge, this program has expanded into Kyrgyzstan. Tajikistan had challenges the last few years, but the teachers in this program, it's a trainer of trainers model, so the teachers will teach other teachers and then the students. And ethno-eco camps that getting kids outside, and really the intersection of biocultural and biodiversity conservation. And kids like Alkiabek become champions for snow leopards. He's teaching his sister, after going through the program, teaching his sister, and everybody knows all about the protection of snow leopards and wolves and others, because wolves are have a lot more challenges than snow leopards, as we've been hearing about today. And so by also teaching techniques with the community coordinators on monitoring, then citizen scientists like Tulgazana here can help by monitoring and be the eyes and ears on the ground advising snow leopard conservation. And how this is working is in the Pamiri Mountains in Tajikistan, we have had over 10 depredation incidences where instead of killing the cat, they decided, instead of killing the snow leopard, they facilitated its safe escape from the corral and were called the authorities to transport these cats to be released. And so attitudes are changing, coexistence is happening, and also providing them tools with to prevent, like fox lights, to also prevent conflict, so they're not bearing the burden of this. And the whole Land of Snow Leopard Network in 2020 won a Disney Conservation Hero Award for this work. And so it is an extraordinary example of coexistence between us, different religions, different nationalities, different, all sorts of differences, but everybody respects each other, everybody's equal. And we put all of that into our work, and it's how we interact with each other. Humanity comes first. Taking care of each other comes first. And Maria is the one that couldn't be here today, but I just wanted to introduce her quickly. She is the bridge between with her indigenous culture as well as being a student at Harvard. And she's launched awareness campaigns with Harvard School of Divinity, which is reaching corporations and all sorts of people to spread this initiative. And through the Snow Leopard Network and the GSLIP initiative, we've been able to share the word. And this is just the last bit here.
Of our respective countries, we emphasize close ties between those communities and the communities of our totem animals. We understand that the risks and threats for the sacred snow leopard are augmented by the loss of traditional understanding and respect for the value of totem animals.
So I'm sorry you can't hear that, but what Dr. Jackson was saying is we're sharing the message of the indigenous culture practitioners at this global forum, and then Jakar Pool did a blessing at the ceremony. And this is more important now than ever because the indigenous communities in the Buryat and Altai republics have been so profoundly affected by the war. And so we are very much a stronger together network, and really thank our funding partners that understand that measuring this is very difficult in scientific ways, and they've been very flexible with us on that, and to all of our partners involved, and to thank you so much for your interest in this topic. And then that's also more information on Land of the Snow Leopard. So thank you so much.
We're 1 minute shy of 5:45, so go crazy.
So a question for I'll use it. Okay, so this is a general question really for all the panelists today. Thanks everyone for your presentation, so interesting. My focus is on Latin America, so really interesting to see all these Asian projects because it's a part of the world I'm really not familiar with. But the mountains look spectacular, and some really interesting cultures as well. So we've heard a lot about how positive cultural associations with the species that we focus on can serve to help us protect those species, and how likewise that can help us to work with these cultures to sort of revindicate and preserve those cultures as well. So there's a positive relationship there. But then in Mary's presentation, she was kind of talking about those negative superstitious beliefs as well. And I think that this maybe feeds back to the question that you asked beforehand. At what point is there a risk that by trying to promote and to preserve aspects of a culture that are positive to our conservation mission, and to demystify or to sort of prevent aspects of a culture that are negative to a conservation mission, do we run the risk of potentially, through our external influence, shaping that culture to something that it was not traditionally? And how can we avoid that happening? How can we avoid falling into that pit hole?
I'd say by letting them share their own messages, you know, at least for land of snow leopard, the regions are all very different, the communities are all very different. And so when the Nature Trunk program expanded, and in the next phase we'll be incorporating more spiritual and cultural lessons, but those are going to be the teachers, and working with the indigenous leaders in those communities will develop those because they're all regionally specific. So at least for us, it's really letting them tell the story, and you know, we are a facilitator in that.
But does anyone else have thoughts in the room? This is
Yeah, you can share.
very response to that.
Hi. A really interesting question, and one thing that struck me is perhaps this idea that not allowing the idea that these cultures should change and can learn stuff and use it to be different. I think that's fine. I think there's a risk of going into these places, like going into DRC, for example, and hoping to find Booty people, for example, and wanting them to be for always a romantic, unchanging hunter-gatherers, when, of course, these people also want to be in the world, have other aspirations, and I think that that's fine. And I think what we often are most aghast to find in these places is ourselves. So we find the destructiveness, people doing things because they're part of the world we've made, or like a kind of Western, if you like, framings. And we don't want to see that. That's the part we don't want to see, and we want to just see those different, nice parts. I guess that was a comment I had.